great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher, and our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered, soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission: to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode. My name, Bill. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicki.
Vicki. It's a familiar voice. I've heard that one before.
Jen.
No Jen?
No Jen this time. Nope.
Oh, my goodness. You got to put up with me all by yourself again. I apologize ahead of time. Vicki, do you know what we have tonight?
Oh, my goodness. We're going to talk about HPDEs. I'm so excited.
Never heard of one of those. We have somebody who apparently knows a thing or two about HPDEs. We might discuss what they are because we are always trying to get people out to the track. He has a website. Amazingly enough, it has HPDE in the title. It's called the HPDEjunkie.com website. And he is trying to make it a one-stop shop so you can find all the HPDEs that are in your area. And during this episode, we might even say what an HPDE is as opposed to using the acronym. But with that,
what was that?
I don't know. My voice just went away. I'm going to start liking girls soon. I'm like Bobby Brady or Peter Brady or whoever it was. I don't remember.
My goodness.
It's Marsha. No, it's not Marsha. It's Dave Peters from the HPDEjunkie.com website. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks for having me.
I've heard bad rumors that you're friends with Ben Dawson, so I want to apologize and thank you for coming on anyway.
Yeah, they're not rumors, but it's bad.
Yeah.
Actually, Ben was I think he was my instructor for my third track day.
Oh. And
I had just got bumped up to intermediate, and we did a lot of laughing and a lot of cussing. And it was just cussing just because we could. It was kind of fun.
It kind of sounds like our podcast with Ben. Same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Ben's not able to come. He's got other duties. Jen's not able to come. And Vicki and I have lots of questions for you. But
yes,
ladies first, Miss Vicki.
Oh, so could you give us just a brief introduction of who you are?
As you know, my name is Dave Peters.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of I look at myself as just kind of a regular guy. Got into track days, and I just kind of, in my own need for finding events, kind of came up with the idea for the website. And yeah, just kind of rolling from there and doing as many track events as possible and loving every one of them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is. So you got the car racing, the high performance driving bug from something. What really got you kicked off?
It really started extremely young. My dad was into road racing, which was even more unheard of in the 60s. He did some hill climbs and stuff, but also went to a lot of races. And I was fortunate enough to go to the U.S. Grand Prix in 1970.
Oh, wow.
I was 3 years old, so I don't remember it at all. But that was probably the start. And then just all through my childhood and teen years and then beyond until I started driving on the track, then I didn't really want to watch anymore. But that's a whole nother story. He just took me to races, SCCA, IMSA, the old Camel GT series. We went to the Grand Prix at Watkins Glen a few times in the 70s. Went to a couple Canadian Grand Prix, saw some Can-Am races, here and there throughout the years. So it was just always kind of something we were both into and something we did a lot.
Mhm.
It's good family bonding. We agree.
Yeah, it was, and it still is. And he's finally accepted the fact that I don't really want to go watch racing because it just kind of drives me nuts to not be able to get out there. So he just comes, he comes to a lot of the events when he can and rides along when he feels up to it. And if nothing else, we get to hang out together a little.
That's
Sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic.
Uh,
We bring our children along, and sometimes our parents, whoever we can talk into doing this fun sport. It's a great time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just,
I try to talk everybody into it too.
Mhm.
yeah, we're kind of the more the merrier kind of group,
Exactly my feelings.
right? It's
But
so
I think
nice doing that.
at some point it does kind of shoot us in the foot because events will fill up before we can get in.
Yeah.
Well, we go the opposite way. We're like, well, maybe we can fill the event up with all people we know. There.
Well, that's always good too. That's
Bill's like,
always
book
good.
it now's the
Yeah.
time.
It's open. Registration came open. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly though, I think that trend is beginning to start where events are filling far faster than they did, at least when we started the website 7 years ago.
Mhm.
I just that's a trend I see, that events fill really fast or faster than they did.
Do you think that's pre or post plague?
I wasn't even really plaguing into the factor.
No.
No, I mean, besides the times that tracks were shut down from, I'm not really remember when it started, but it seemed like it started trickling off in June of 20. Of course, afterwards they were filling up really fast, but I think once we got in, into 21, I think it just became, a lot of people know about it. And,
Right.
So that, and everybody's telling their friends, hey, you got to come do this.
Yeah. I also felt that everybody at that point was just jonesing for racing, as racing was trying to sort itself out and having to be so fluid that the actual events really weren't happening as they should. So I think people kind of backed off. I know that we did and decided to take HPDEs. They were just a little bit more of a controlled atmosphere.
Sure. And that I would agree with you completely. But yeah, I think as far as the track world or the HPDE world, it's kind of semi back to normal. I don't know. The ones I go to, it seems not like a big issue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think are some of your bucket list items when it comes to this whole HPDE racing thing? What's a feeling for you? Got an end game?
I mean, I really don't aspire to wheel race. And I get asked a lot, I know a lot of people that have endurance cars and run all of the different series. And I don't know, man, I just don't have enough competitiveness in me, I guess. I just enjoy, going out. I'm not saying I drive slow, but just having a good time. And, it's a lot about the camaraderie at the track too. Which I don't think you realize until you get into it for a year or two and you start meeting some people and then you see them again. And yeah, that's kind of the best part of it all.
Right.
Yeah, the same group seem to show up at the events. Same people.
Yeah.
So do you have anything left for this season, or are you kind of winding down or just getting started?
I had plenty left, and my first issue was I had some engine issues and had it rebuilt and still had some engine issues. And after about the third one, I basically got to the point where I was just frustrated. I had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. And I was just like, I'm just not going back to the track. I can't think about this right now. I just can't think about it anymore. And then about 3 weeks ago, I slipped on a step and injured my knee and had to have knee surgery. So that really closed the season out for me. So, and it's the right leg. So there was like, I couldn't even rent an automatic and do it.
Time to left foot brake, baby.
Well, I
My
can't
God.
even use I can't bend my right leg at all.
Oh no.
It's completely
Oh no.
immobilized for another week and a half. So
Oh
Well, you
no.
it
just
is
learn
what
how
it
to
is.
you just learn how to drive with the foot flat on the floor and just
Oh,
modulate with the brake. You'll be fine.
believe me, I tried. I thought, well, I can get in my truck and sling my leg up into the middle and drive with my left foot, but it just wasn't going in there.
So how many years have you been doing the HPDEs?
I started driving in 2014. That was my first event.
Okay.
And then I felt at the time, I felt like I started the website before I knew enough about HPDEs, but it was one of those things that let me roll back a second. I started the website the next year. I had done two events, and that's kind of when I was looking for events and couldn't find them. And it was one of those things where I was like, maybe I don't know enough about HPDE yet, but I don't want somebody else to get this idea. So I just rolled with it, and it just picked it up pretty quick. I mean, it wasn't too difficult.
Yeah.
I was already loving the hobby, and just was passionate about it. So it wasn't like work.
Well, if it makes you feel better, we started our podcast after our second race. So, same.
Same thing.
That's right. So
do you too?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay.
Do you have I'm bulldozing. I apologize. My brain is working quite fast today. So do you have a philosophy when you go out to do your HPDEs? What do you tell yourself, or what do you tell other people as you're learning this?
I think really, HPDE is really more about having fun and, absolutely drive as fast as you feel like you safely can. But there's one group that I run with occasionally, and about a half a dozen times in his driver's meeting, he says, "This is not a race." And I just think that kind of needs to be remembered. I think everybody should drive as fast as they possibly can, but sometimes it gets a little hairy, and some guys are worried about their lap times and how you didn't get out of their way in time. And I just don't think that's what HPDE should be. I think that's what endurance racing is, absolutely, in any other racing. But I think you just kind of got to dial it back just a hair.
The scouts are there looking for me, and I got to get the trophy for the HPDE fastest lap, because it's really, really big. It's a good.
I've seen pictures of the trophy. I've yet to see it in person.
Yeah, well, it's like Bigfoot, right?
Yeah.
So what circuit do you mostly visit?
VIR is probably the most visited, and partially because it's the closest. Well, I shouldn't say closest. It's equally the same distance for me to go to VIR or Carolina Motorsports Park, which I love a lot too. It's not VIR, but they repaved since recently, and it's a fun track, especially in a lower horsepower car, which I'm in. Slow car, fast.
Yeah.
But it's a fun track, and the repave made it a lot more fun and a lot faster. So those are my two most frequent, and then I'll skip around the Southeast, and I try to get up to Pittsburgh every year because I love that track. But I didn't make it this year because of the car. I usually go up for Labor Day weekend. Yeah, that's almost like my favorite track. I'm sure you guys have been there with. I heard the in the background.
It's my favorite.
Love it. I mean, what do you drive? I can't say that I know.
We've got variety of BMWs, 3 Series, and then Vicki and Jen tend to go with our Miatas, and then when we're racing, we've traditionally gone over there with our Chevy pickup truck, and soon to be Honda Civic. So
gotcha. So there's some lower horsepower cars in that mix
for sure.
Yeah, and I'm in a Miata, and it's just, I love that track. I love the elevation change, and the short straightaways, the
Yep,
equalizer.
Just don't get stuck in the bottom of the hill. So so let's get back to it, shall we? So let's pretend that we have somebody who's brand new to racing. They just looked up on iTunes or wherever they listen to podcasts, and they're trying to find out where or if it's possible for them to go to a track. So let's really get back to, like, what does HPDE stand for?
I mean, high performance driving for sure would be what I'd say for the first three.
Yep.
Yep.
I prefer event for the E, just because it kind of covers the whole thing. Whenever you say education, to me, that's almost like
Questionable.
yeah, and I think it could almost deter someone new that, not that they shouldn't learn. I hope they think they should learn, but I don't know. I've just always liked high performance driving event.
But I drive every day. I don't need to learn. I've been driving for years.
I thought the same thing, actually. It was a very eye-opening. I mean, I had always had sports cars and drove on back roads and watched racing, of course. And man, was I surprised.
That natural driver thing is no.
One in a million.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So the different organizations tend to stress the E for education, or the E for event, or the E for get everybody out on the track differently. So what we've always said is try to find the one that fits where you are and with the interests that match what you want. Like if you want a heavy education event, we know where we think we should go. If you want to get lots of track time, that's probably not going to be the same event. There's no one does everything perfectly. So you got to kind of choose which event and which organizer to go to.
Yeah, I would agree. Everybody does it a little different, and there's more and more open track events popping up, which, a couple of years ago there were really hardly any. The only thing that I kind of remember that's always been that way is the David Murray events, but his clientele, and he kind of targets the IMSA racers and the Pirelli Challenge racers, along with plenty of other guys that aren't teams. But yeah, that seems to be a growing trend. I think maybe it was more common on the West Coast, before we got it. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot more of that.
So again, for somebody new to this, would you kind of describe what's involved within a normal HPDE event, just so they're kind of knowing what they're going to be walking into for the first time?
Yeah. How would I explain that? I don't know if this would be a necessarily an explanation, maybe more of a sales pitch, but I just, anybody that has a sports car, I almost look at it like, why do you have that car just to drive around the street? And you have no clue how much is left in that car from just driving it on the street. So I just, I think you should take your car to the track, get that fast driving out of your system. It's an extremely safe environment. You've got somebody in the passenger seat that's an experienced driver, likely a racer, that's going to talk to you through your headset or a headset that they provide you. And, it really kind of keeps you in check, teaches you everything that you think that you definitely don't know.
Sure.
It's a completely different ball game and world than going down the back roads. It's very eye-opening.
Right. Absolutely.
So what do you need to do to prep?
If it's your first time.
Yeah, if it's your first time.
Oh, first time? As little as possible is the way I feel about it. I mean, if anything, upgrade your brakes. But even your first time, it's usually not necessary. I think make sure all your fluids are clean and fresh, and at least some kind of clean, fresh brake fluid. But I think you guys know as well as I do, your first event, you're not going to You're not going to reach the limits of your brakes or your tires or your car by any means. So yeah, and it's kind of funny, and I was victim of it too. That when I tell people about it that haven't been, they're like, "Well, I got to get my car tuned, or I got to get a turbo," and I'm like, "No, you don't. That's the last thing you need. Just bring it out like it is." And I didn't go crazy with mine. I actually started out in a 370Z, and I had done the bolt-on axle back exhaust and cold air intakes, lowering springs, and a couple of other things. I mean, nothing crazy, but it was funny. It was my first event. My instructor greeting, he said, "Well, what have you done to the car?" And I said, "Well, I did a cold air intake and I did exhaust." And he rolled his eyes and said, "Anything with the brakes?" And I said, "No, why?" And he just kind of shook his head and kind of let it roll off. But yeah, I don't know that anybody reaches the limit of their car or brakes or tires on their first track day. I don't know that it's possible. Maybe that 1 in a million guy.
The odds are
natural.
The odds are if you reach the limit on your tires or your brakes on your first day on track, it's not going to end well.
Right. So. Yeah.
That is very, very good odds.
Yeah. So what about
go ahead.
What about the levels above that?
The first couple steps you want to upgrade.
Absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, brakes are first, maybe brakes and tires at the same time. But brakes are the most important. Get a decent set of race pads and get some high temp, fluid in there, and be sure to bleed it often.
Right.
That surprises me. I mean, even guys that I've seen at the track for a few years that don't realize that they need to bleed their brakes more often. And I don't know. I had mine go out on me once, and that was all it took, and I didn't ever want to have that happen again.
And by tires, you mean go get the drag slicks and pop those buddies out there?
Yeah, the really, really wide ones.
Big and little is always good.
Yeah, absolutely. Big stagger. And to me, I mean, definitely you want a little better grip, but I learned pretty quick that a 280 or 300 tread wear tire, which is, considered a soft tire for most of the tire companies, it's just not made for the heat. So you end up trashing them in one weekend, versus if you bought a tire that's a 200 tread wear that's designed to take heat, it won't melt down like the other tire. So not only for the grip factor, but for the longevity and the money savings, because you'll go through those other tires like set a weekend,
Yeah, not your first weekend, but once you start getting some real speed.
Yeah, I think it's probably my second weekend that I just burnt the shoulders right off the tires. I mean, right down to the cores. The rest of them were fine, but and I didn't get it. And the instructor that I had, it was prior to Ben. He said, "Well, a tire like that's just not designed for the heat, so it just melts." And I go, "Oh, okay. Well, I learned something." So, yeah. Plus, I mean, the advantages of its much better grip.
Probably equally important. Can you name some of the last things you should do before you get out on track for your first few times? Don't do this.
Yeah, I mean, don't add horsepower for sure.
Yep. The wrong direction.
Yeah.
Don't get your windows tinted real dark.
Nope. Good one. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I'm trying to think of something else.
I mean, the one thing I always say when people do this and they start racking off the things that are keeping them from getting on track is don't wait for that stuff. Just go. And don't get your coilovers. Don't get your catback exhaust system when you're in your fancy, this and that. Just take your car as it is and start. Don't waste.
I absolutely could agree 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's pretend that we're getting somebody off the sofa. They're starting to go out there. How do you get started, and who is an HPDE for? Or you could approach it from who's it not for?
It's for just about anybody in my opinion, that enjoys sports cars and has the desire to drive fast. There's obviously people that get out there, and I don't think it's often, but get out there and it's just not for them. And I've actually seen it firsthand, but it kind of surprised me actually. I mean, what was the question again?
It's basically where we're trying to get to is it's one of those things. It's like, who should go to an HPD? Everybody.
Everybody. I mean, yeah, everybody should. But, I just wanted to, I guess I felt the need to point out it isn't for absolutely everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, our children have gone, our parents have gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not only for the 24-year-old millionaire Italian playboy who lives in Monaco in the summers, and it's anybody can go. It's not you don't have to be special. Come on out.
Mm-mm.
No, you definitely don't have to be special. You need a car, and you could even rent one if you didn't have one.
Absolutely.
So what kind of car is it not for? I mean, you don't want to bring your crazy Jeep out that's kind of jacked up real tall.
Yeah,
my Bigfoot.
Although, if you had one of the, what is it? I don't know what it's called, but there's a Jeep model that's pretty hopped up fast. And I feel like I've seen one. I've definitely seen a couple of SUVs, but they were, like the sport version, and definitely not jacked up. I've even seen a minivan or two.
Sure.
But they were souped up.
We've been passed by those.
Yeah, I think I got passed by one too, actually. A Honda, some kind of Honda Passport or something, and sure. I mean, it like really passed me.
Yeah. Well, basically, as long as your car is not going to roll over, bring it.
I agree. Yeah, at least you get out there and get to see what it's about, and and if you love it, then maybe you think about finding a different car.
So, in your opinion, what would be a few examples of the ideal car for the initial learning? Any tips and stuff? Yeah. They're so forgivable.
You know what it is. And like I said, I started with a 370Z, which was extremely expensive in consumables. And that was my real reason to want something else. But, as everyone goes to an event, you see Miatas everywhere, and there's got to be a good reason. And, for me, it was cost of tracking it was probably my biggest reason at the beginning. But once I got in it on the track, I was completely hooked, because, I mean, you can just fly through the corners and brake so late. And, the joy of being faster in the corners than $100,000 or $200,000 cars is pretty fun.
For sure.
What year is your Miata?
I have an 01. But obviously the E36 and E30s are great track cars and economical to track. Some of the early Corvettes make good track cars, but they're a little hard on consumables and a little more expensive to operate. And actually, I hear the Corvette guys say it's a set of tires and brake pads every weekend, and I just shake my head and think about, I'm about a set of tires and brake pads per season.
Yeah.
And
that adds up.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It's such a huge difference. So, I guess it's just all relative to what you want to put into it. If you can afford to go buy whatever and take it to the track, then by all means you should. But it definitely doesn't take a bunch of money to do it. I think that the BRZ FRS scene is a really good little
Mhm.
track car to start with. It's an amazing handling car, not a bunch of horsepower, so you're not going to get yourself in trouble.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I look at it kind of like what you're saying. Whatever you got, get out there and then kind of see what's out there. I mean, that to me tells it all. Is what do you see the most of out there? And it's a lot of Corvettes, a lot of Porsches, a lot of Miatas, a lot of E38. These are a lot of BMWs of all sorts. Yep. And and there's always that to each your own. Everybody likes something a little different, but yeah, it's Miata for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So, what about any tips of cars you might want to stay away from?
At least in the beginning.
At least in the very beginning.
I hate to throw this under the bus, but the 370Z was not a good track car.
No.
No, well, it handles really well, and it's got some decent power, but it has heat flaws and fuel starvation flaw like you can't even imagine. I mean, you have to top the car off after every session.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And like a corner like VIR turn 1, that's a hard right-hander, all the fuel sloshes to the one tank, and it just will suck a little bit of air in the other tank, and then when you exit, it's up. So that was terrible. The clutch fluid would overheat because it was the line went right next to the catalytic converter. So the clutch pedal would stick to the floor, and I would have to hook my toe behind it and pull it just to be able to get back in. I mean, yeah, it's just, you have to have an oil cooler on it or do not take it on the track. I mean, it's a heat monster. I mean, it's not a good track car.
Sounds like not for beginners.
Yeah, sorry 370Z guys to throw y'all under the bus because I had one, but that's just the honest truth. And then you end up putting thousands of dollars in it to solve all those problems.
Yeah. Well, it's not that you can't take it on track.
It's just not economical, and
it takes a lot.
It takes a lot of work to get it to be a good trackable car. I mean, like you said, I think you said first couple, 2-3 events, you're fine in it. But then once you start pushing it a little bit, it doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm. And then,
besides that, I'm trying to think of something else that,
well, the big horsepower, no brake cars, always good to stay away from in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say that I know which big horsepower cars don't have good brakes, but yeah, big horsepower is not what everybody needs.
No. The middle pedal, not the right pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you leveled up in HPDE?
What do you mean by leveled up?
What level are you at?
I run advanced most of the time. Sometimes I'll get to an event and see that the advanced group is all like 500 horsepower and up, and I'll ask if I can run an intermediate just so I can have a little fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, have you ever thought about instructing since you've been in so long?
I've done it a few times. I can't say that I really love it. I don't feel like I'm good at saying what needs to be. I like transferring it to words. I mean, if I'm driving, I know what I need to do, I just can't transfer it to words. Well, at least I don't think so. And I mean, nobody's complained, but they were all like first timers. So it was like, I just need to get them around the track and keep them on a decent line and teach them balance, the basic stuff. But beyond that, I just can't, it's just not something for me. I don't love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what about, let's keep it, we're progressing a bit. And what if, what are your thoughts on when is it time to switch from your daily driver to something a little more dedicated? Is there an event, or is it, I know it varies person to person, obviously. But.
Yeah, I don't know if I could pinpoint, exactly when. for me, it was kind of I want a comfort level of knowing I can get this thing back home afterwards.
Sure.
And when I tracked the Z, that was a drive to the track car, and it was always in the back of my head. It won't take much, and I can't get this thing home, and that's going to be an expensive tow bill, and so I think it's a once you kind of hit a level that you feel like you're, I guess, going faster and more at risk of sliding off the track or just breaking something. But it gave me a lot of peace of mind once I had a trailer and knew the car could come home even if I broke it.
Yeah,
So
driving to and from is, it's tough if that's what you're in.
Yeah.
But you know what? If that's what it takes for you to do it, by all means, do it. Get track insurance. That probably give you a little more peace of mind. But yeah, by all means, I mean, if that's the way you got to do it, do it. There's plenty of guys that have a Miata with a little two-wheel trailer on the back with their tires and tools, and I respect that. You do what you got to do.
Yeah, I think the thing that we always talk about is when you're going faster than you feel safe or comfortable, it's usually a good time, and when your desire to progress is conflicting with your desire to preserve your car.
Yeah, I like the second one, and I feel like that's kind of what I was getting at was,
because it's hard to do both.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, so we've gone through a little bit about cars. What would you bring besides a prepared car to the event? Is there kind of a Dave standard pack up is blah?
Oh man, that's a long that's a long list. I feel like you asked earlier about prep, and I feel like if I'm not at the track every weekend, I feel like I'm prepping or fixing something so that I can go.
Well, non-mechanical, like what would you bring?
Oh, definitely a lot of water. I like to take Gatorade. I like to do a Gatorade in the water, right afterwards. You take food if you want. There's usually track food, but I got to where I like taking a little grill and some burgers and hot dogs. And,
well, it's Miata. It's got to be a little grill.
No, Miata has big trailer.
Yeah.
I have a lot of spares, and I love having an enclosed trailer because, part of it is that's less stuff that has to live in my garage and be loaded and unloaded every time I go.
That's a big deal.
So how often have you had to actually do your repairs at the track?
Often. I mean, there's usually something little every time. Part of them are not the Miata's fault. They're aftermarket intake and throttle body's fault, without saying a brand name. But I've broken a lot of throttle body springs and throttle body shafts. But I've gotten smart and I carry a spare, and I'm pretty proficient at swapping them out real quick.
Yeah. So like you said, is that due to product, the type of product it is, or is that the company that you're buying it from? Or
well, I think it's the brand that I was using that I've since quit using and started using a knockoff, which has been holding up pretty good.
Okay.
But
which brand do you like to use now?
It's not branded. It's like eBay knockoff. It really doesn't have a brand, but it looks just like the name brand one.
Okay.
And it's working for you.
And it works just like the name brand one.
We're all for saving money. That's more track time.
Yeah, and it's a third of the cost. So yeah.
Yeah, we've been there.
We'll have a sample link at the end of the podcast for this. We'll talk about this after.
And I'll tell you, I mean, a lot of like my dad, he's be like, why don't you just put the old stuff back on? And I'm like, because it does make the car faster.
Mm-hmm.
So I just can't like take it back off. But I think the knockoff is going to do quite well. And I've got enough spare parts from the two brand name ones that they wouldn't warranty or service. So that ought to hold me for a while. Plus I have another knockoff in there, but the Miata's cam sensors and stuff like that go out real easy. So I always have a couple of those and a thermostat and extra brake line in the front because I've had one of those brakes. It's typically something that's broken on me. Then I buy two and put them in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I keep an extra set of brake pads and distilled water and, some fluids. And I just feel like after you go for a few years, you kind of learn from mistakes or from issues what you need. And I don't know, I prefer to have it than have to find an AutoZone and go get it. Saves a lot of time.
Is your car considered an NB or an NC?
Mine's an NB.
Okay, that's where I'm driving.
It's an NB2, so it's the first year of the variable valve timing.
Yeah, you've got the first part of NBs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
We have two of them actually.
Yeah.
They seem to breed. Every winter we go back in and we just find another one crawling around on the floor, really small, and then by the springtime it gets much bigger.
Yeah. By the time we get, it's caged. Yay. So. That's good. So, besides that, what about at the event prep? What do you do?
What would you? We're trying to keep this focused on relatively new, like before a stint, after a stint, kind of things.
Yeah, we're still trying to get those people off the sofa and like you have got to get here and try this. So these are pretty basic questions, not for your already seasoned drivers.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Be prepared to be very overwhelmed.
Good one, because it's true.
I mean, especially driving. I kind of like didn't want to lose the instructor because it was like, well, he's the guy that tells me when there's a flag, and
yeah,
when I didn't see that car coming up behind me, he did. But all that comes with a couple more events and you start seeing that stuff. So be prepared to be overwhelmed. Leave your ego at home and don't even bring it near the track because you'll be humbled, or at least you should be humbled. And maybe if you haven't been humbled, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Mm-hmm. Out of safety of everyone else. Listen to your instructor, just try to pay attention, listen to the classroom stuff. And one of my favorite things that has kind of come to mind is every now and then I come across somebody that was a drag racer that comes out, and those guys, man, the looks on their faces when they get out of the car after the 20 to 30 minute adrenaline rush versus their 6 to whatever 10, 12 second adrenaline rush, they're just like amazed by it. Mm-hmm. And usually are pretty much converted instantly. Mm-hmm. So I love seeing that. And that, I guess I saw it as it might inspire somebody that's listening that, is going and running down the 8th mile or something at their local track. And that stuff's fun, but wow, this is so much more. And the other part of it is, man, I'm so against street racing. It's just dangerous. If you want to drag race, there's got to be a track close to you. Go there. And if you want to hit the road course, there's plenty of road courses. There's 80 some tracks in the U.S. I mean, there's bound to be one within a couple hours of you. So give it a try. And it's far safer than you would ever think it would be. Safer than driving fast on the street by a long shot. Likely not going to hurt your car. You might wear your tires out a little, but that's just part of it. You can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess is the way I look at it. Something's got to give. So, yeah, I mean, I'm like you guys. I want anybody that's into cars and has a sports car to get out there and do it.
Just say yes. Just say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know for sure that it's cheaper than drugs, but it's better than drugs.
It's safer. I wouldn't even say it's safe. No, just kidding. It is safer.
Yeah, and that's that's something that people should know is very seldom do I see a crash that really damages a car. I mean, they happen, and it's usually in the advanced or intermediate groups. Very, very seldom in a novice setting do you see a crash.
Yeah.
So, and then along with that, car-to-car crash is even more rare. I think I may have seen maybe two. I can only really remember one, but maybe two in seven years of being on the track. So that's pretty good. And I get out there quite a bit. But most of the time it's going to slide through the grass and either get a bunch of grass and mud up under your car, or if it's dry, you're going to fill the inside of your car with dust. But,
yeah. Well, that's a good point, because most of the tracks that I've experienced, except for maybe a small handful, that's mostly open field that you're running off in, or sand, or
right. I mean, they know,
or gravel. Yeah,
they know where the potential crash might happen, so the tracks are usually, set up for that.
So,
go ahead, Bill.
So I was just going to say, so we've got this new driver. They're going to an HPD, maybe first time, maybe second time. Do you have like a suggestion for some typical goals or expectations that they might be? Because I mean, they're not. I'll give you the first one. They're not going to be the fastest person out there. So just be prepared.
Goals. I kind of would feel bad, like besides just improving, I wouldn't want to say get faster, although you will naturally get faster. Especially that first probably 5 or more times. I mean, every time you go, you're going to increase by seconds.
Sure.
It's once you get into that like third, well, probably not even that long, second or third year, you're probably been in intermediate for a while, and you just kind of hit this plateau. But up until then, I mean, you're going to get faster every time.
Yeah. I think you just don't want to go in overly aggressive, and just expect to be a little bit overwhelmed, maybe.
Yeah.
Because there's so much
absolutely.
going on, and just be open-minded to learning, I think would be a good one, because you don't know what you don't know.
That's very well said. And this is something that there's, I'm sure most or a lot of guys or gals get on and do the simulator stuff before they do it. And that's probably very helpful. But you just can't get that sensation of your butt in the seat, and, knowing when the car is about to break free, or just the balance thing. I don't think is, instinctive from street driving for most people. No.
It's just
and to me, that's the most important part is balance. You keep your car balanced, you can drive faster and save it easier when it does let loose. Where if you're unbalanced, there's usually no saving it. It's the ass end of the car is hiked up and the weight's thrown already. It's too late. But if you got it hunkered down good and you start sliding, you can usually, at least in the Miata, a little flick of the wheel and she's right back under you, which is kind of, I love that about the yeah.
Right.
God, I'm starting to miss it. I haven't.
I
driven.
know, right?
It's driving me crazy, and I know that it's sitting.
You got to go get your fix.
Yeah, and I rarely even look at it because it's on jack stands. The motor's sitting on one side, the transmission's sitting on the other side. So yeah, I'm anxious. I'm getting anxious to go back, but it'll be early 22 before I'm back out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, this HPDE thing sounds like fun. If there was only a place where I could find one that's near me, someplace, I don't know, a billboard. No, that won't work. I need some place that I could just, maybe there's this new thing called the internet. Maybe there was a place on there. Do you have any good places you could say that might have an event for me?
Well, there is, but I might be a little biased.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
like a
HPDE,
single spot, single spot.
I know the spot. It's HPDEjunkie.com.
Oh,
and I try to pride in having every event. I can't say for sure that I have every because man, they pop up all the time. But I really, really try hard to scour the internet, keep my eyes on social media for the new groups and events that, the other tricky part is, you don't often know, or I don't often know when a group adds an event. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
I really pride myself in trying to stay on top of that and making sure that it's a very up to date and inclusive as possible. So in saying that, if you know of a group that's not on our site or are a new group or an old group and you're not on our site, by all means, there's a contact page on the site. It doesn't cost anything. Shoot me an email and we'll get you up there ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So how far do you track these HPDEs? Are they pretty much reach all the way to the West Coast or is it just regional?
No, it's the whole U.S. and Canada. It's the whole U.S. for sure. And I would say at least 95 to 98% of the track days out there, they're listed on HPDE Junkie. I tried listing Canada this past for 21, and I did, but it was very time consuming, and I really haven't gotten any feedback at all from Canada, which a big part of it is people from the States really couldn't go to Canada to any of those tracks. So that may be part of it, but I'm pretty sure reluctantly I'm going to drop Canada for 2022. And at this point it's just really out of time. I don't know. It's tougher for me to find the groups up there. And I've even, tried to contact people on Instagram that I could tell were Canadian track day people and get some help. And I got a little here and there, but I don't know. I just felt out of touch that I just couldn't get a real grip on what was going on up there. So, but the US, we have got it covered. East, west, north, south, we got them.
That's awesome. So do you have any other information that's on there?
Not a heck of a lot. We have a FAQ page, which is really dedicated to someone new that hasn't done it before. And I feel like it answers most of the questions that you would want to know, what to expect, what to bring, what it might cost you, what it's going to do to your car. So I feel like they're helpful, but it's not in super great detail. We've got some great sponsorships and partners on there. And I'm saying that in the sense of if you see somebody's business on our website, it's because they're related to track days and HPDE, and we wanted them there because we feel like they're a good resource. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. So that would be the other helpful thing. But I just really wanted to, play the KISS role on it, to keep it simple, stupid, and really just focus on having every track day, HPDE open track event in the U.S. So that if that's what you want to do, that's what's easy to find.
So, top of your head, you don't have to look it up or anything. How many different groups do you think you're tracking at this point?
I believe if you, I consider PCA regions separate groups, and the same with BMW and Audi, just because they really are. They all operate separately.
Sure.
It's like 260 some this past year.
Wow.
And 200, no, I'm sorry. About 150 were, private for profit. And then PCA is a big chunk. There's, I want to say there's about 70 some PCA regions that do DEs, as the PCA guys call them. NASA's in there too, which there's probably, I don't know, I think there's about 15 to 20 regions with them.
Sounds about right, yeah.
So yeah, there are a lot. I'm pretty sure it was in the 260s this past year, and every year that we've done it, it's gone up. And the events, I want to say it was just over 2,000 events for 2021. Which is a lot.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, usually you can look at our calendars, and from like April through the beginning of November, every day there's a track day in the US. Like weekdays, weekends.
Somewhere, right?
So yeah, there's a ton of them. Yeah. And it was like right over, just over 2,000, like 2,060 or 50 or something like that. But that did include Canada, so it'll be a little less. Can I step away and let my dog out?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thanks. You got to pee?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Dave, we want to thank you so much for coming on.
Sorry, we had to mix up on the timing there.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. And thanks for having me. I mean, that's as awesome as you guys having me, as me being on. It's very appreciated.
Yeah. We'll have to have you back on again so we can talk about next level racing and then upper level racing.
And maybe get Ben on so you can pick on him in person, because it's no fun making fun of him,
I didn't even notice his name in the CCs of the invite until today.
And
then I texted him. I was like, "Are you in on this?" And he said, "No, not this time." But that would have been cool to have him on, because we have a little history. And we've stayed in touch since then. I mean, that was like 2015. And you just bond with your instructor. At least I did. Everyone that I had 3, and 2 of them I still talk to regularly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how can our friends keep in contact with you besides your website?
Or in addition to your website?
In addition to the website.
Well, as you know, the website is hpdejunkie.com. On Instagram and Facebook, it's HPDE Junkie. So you can go through either one of those. If you want to contact directly, there's a contact email page on the website. And I believe at the bottom of each page, there's also one. Feel free, ask any questions. I mean, I get them all the time. Some of them make me laugh a little bit when somebody will email me and tell me about the track days in Texas. And I'm like, how about I give you a list of the tracks?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't mind answering any of them.
Okay.
I'm glad to help. And often it is people that, hey, I haven't been out yet on the track. What should I expect? What do I need to do? And I'm always glad to help and send people down the right road.
Well, we do appreciate all your work and all your time, because like you, we're trying to grow the sport and trying to get the information out. And you're one of those resources we found early and then used often. So we thank you, and thank you for the people in the future who find your website.
And I thank you for saying that. That means a lot.
It's a lot of work you put
Awesome.
in, and it's greatly appreciated by the entire HPDE and performance driving community. So thank you for everything you've ever done.
That makes me feel nice and warm and fuzzy. Thank you.
Well, our job here is done, sir.
That's right. All
right. You have a great night, sir.
Yeah, actually, real quick, if I couldn't mention,
Sure.
mention just a couple.
Don't say no
couple
motorsports. Just don't say that one.
I didn't.
Oh, okay. Because he listens, and we don't want to have him get all excited.
Yeah. We don't need him getting any extra traffic at all.
No, he already passes us enough. That's fine.
Jim's a great guy.
Jim is awesome.
Really enjoyed Jim. So by all means, hit up No Money's Motorsports blog. He's got such great stories. I mean, every time he does one, I'm like, man, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they really apply to me more to HPDE than racing.
Sure.
Anyway, Jim's a good guy. Check him out. There's a link on our site. Apex Performance, man, they stepped up before my site even went live, and at the time partnered with me and kind of set me up to sell stuff. That's kind of since changed, and now they're our biggest sponsor for the website. So by all means, they know a lot about safety gear. They'll give you 10% off, at least if you mention HPDE Junkie. And I encourage you to call instead of ordering online. And those phone numbers are on our website as well, and links to their site.
I heard if you mention Ben's name, you get that 10% added back on though. So.
Yeah, they charge you double for shipping too, I think.
Yeah. That's because they use his boxes.
Exactly. Then they fall apart, I guess. G-Lock brakes, they give me brake pads, which is awesome. So I can't thank them enough. I wish I could use more of them, but I can't seem to get through more than a set a year just because of the Miata, which says a lot about the brake pad too.
Yeah.
For
sure. Locked in Motorsports helps us out a little bit. Got it, if you need track insurance, they've been in the business a while, so they're good to deal with. And not just track insurance. I actually have my trailer and car insured with them for off-track insurance, for theft and things like that. It's very, very reasonable, surprisingly reasonable. So
sure,
maybe look into that.
Especially if it's your daily driver and your first event and you're feeling a little squeamish. That's a great thing to have.
Yeah. So those folks have helped us out dramatically and overly appreciative that they're partners with us or sponsors for us. So I can't thank them enough.
Well, it's a great group of people you're bonded to. Hopefully we can help you with this podcast in any way. Just let us know, especially if we can do something in the future. That would be great. We'd love to publicize all the good people in our sport. And you definitely are one of them, sir. And we do appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And I feel the same way. And if I can ever do anything for you guys, by all means, hit me up. Let's do more together.
Absolutely.
Let's get to the same racetrack at the same time.
Yep. Post-plague. You got it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Where are you guys located?
We're up in Northeast Pennsylvania, so we're a little bit away from you guys, but we're coming down your way as soon as everything opens up again in their normal fashion.
Yeah.
So.
I'm actually a PA boy to begin with. Harrisburg.
Oh,
yeah.
We're up towards Scranton, so a couple hours, but
yeah.
Everybody's like, but Pittsburgh is right in the same state you are. And I'm like, yeah, it's 5 hours away.
Yeah. I know the feeling.
Yep. All right.
Well, thank you both again. And I look forward to seeing you or being on another podcast.
Sure. We can do this. We do a podcast like every week. So no problem.
if you ever need a fill in, somebody cancels on you, hit me up.
No worries.
That sounds awesome. We will take you up on that offer.
That's fantastic. Cool. You have a great night, sir.
You do the same.